It's my sneeze face. What do you reckon? That one's going to look good. That one's going to look awesome on the, on the tiles. Welcome to the SitRep for today, which is it's Monday, the 6th of June, 2022. My name's Stu. This is Ragnarok Survival, and this is where I go through stories from the past. Missed it for a few days, so let's say 72 hours. Pick out things that I think are interesting, and have a chat about them from the perspective of prepping, how we can best prepare ourselves for an uncertain future. So welcome if you are watching this on Instagram, and welcome if you're watching this on YouTube. Let's kick off, shall we? Where do I want to start today? Let's talk about inflation effects, and let's talk about inflation as it hits us in the fuel tank, right in that fuel tank. Sorry, I've been up since like 3 a.m. I'm obviously in a different location this week, out and about working. And I've been drinking a lot of coffee, so it's going to be an intense one. Let's just keep it together. Why aren't we going in there kicking their asses? Commie Killer, whom are you talking about? Who exactly? At this point, I feel like there are too many asses to kick. I've only got 2 feet, and only so many ass can get kicked by my 2 feet. And there's a lot of people at fault. We're all really at fault to some level, but this isn't about kicking asses. This is about looking at what is happening at the moment, situational awareness, seeing historically what has happened, and using those 2 reference points to predict the future or possible futures, and then think, how can we best prepare ourselves? How can we look after ourselves the best? And how can we as a community help each other out to do that? So that's what we're going to talk about right now with diesel. Okay, so diesel obviously increasing, it's set to increase in price again. It's kind of done down and then an up. I mean, all petrol products have, all fuel products have gone up again, and they're set to possibly go up even more. The thing about diesel, though, why I talk about diesel so much is it's not just that I personally drive a diesel vehicle, but I also eat food, and I don't grow all of that food myself. So that food comes to me on a truck, and that truck is fueled by diesel. And I would suggest that most of us actually are very, very reliant on diesel, even if we don't touch diesel in our daily lives. Most of us need diesel. In fact, our country, Australia, needs diesel to operate. I'm not sure why the sound is cutting out. If anyone else is having problems with the sound cutting out, let me know, and I'll try and restart the Instagram one. So anyway, let's have a look at this from the perspective of Italy. So I was having a chat to a source of mine who's over in the area at the moment. They're having issues. They have just stopped fishing due to diesel fuel prices. So it's not just that we've got diesel trucks that are delivering our IKEA furniture and blah blah blah, all the stuff, our t-shirts and such what, but we also have a whole heap of other industries, our food industry to do. And it's not just growing lettuce in the ground. Things like this, things like the fishing industry is going to get hit hard by this. There is a point where it no longer makes sense for somebody to continue working if fuel price gets too high, if diesel price gets too high. So truckers will just go, we're going to lose money. If we load up our truck now and drive it from Canberra to Sydney, or from Brisbane to Melbourne, we're going to lose money. So we're not going to do that. So this shit isn't going anywhere. And at that point, who has to take the hit on that? It's us. It's us. We don't get our stuff. And we don't get our cool stuff like our Xboxes or whatever. But we also don't get our food. that's a huge issue. That's a really, really big problem. So these are the sorts of things we need to start looking at. If fuel prices are up like this and they're hovering around that X point, and I'm not sure exactly how much that is. My research tells me that some people say we're over it, and some people say we've still got a bit of fudge factor. We've still got like anywhere between 30 to 50 cents per litre to go. I don't know about that. But if you do know, please let me know. There is a point where fuel gets too expensive and truckers just start going, nope, not doing it. Or in the case here in Italy, fishermen start going, nope, not doing it. Is that the correct term now? Fisherman? Fisher person? I'm trying to be PC, right? It's probably, I'm going to guess it's a male-dominated job. But anyway, fishermen have stopped fishing due to diesel prices. Also, they're blockading some ports, so nobody can fish. They can still get imports. So what's actually happening there? We're looking at Greece having cheaper diesel, so they're still fishing. So then they're sending their fish over. Again, this is a system that like people should be looking at and going, this is not good. This is not sustainable. This is not tenable for any amount of time. And my colleague here who sent this to me used the word catastrophic in the supply chains. And I think spot on. Like this stuff portends doom, as in not being able to eat for a lot of people. So, these are things we need to think about if you do use a fuel car, like diesel car, like I often talk about with storing fuel. Then maybe have a little bit more in the backup. I'm the glitch. I will say this will be posted up into my posts, so you can watch it right from the start. I just lost my chat, and somebody, Hannah, thank you that you can hear me. I appreciate that. That looks like a problem. On top of this, Italy also says that it's going to increase Russian oil. So I've said this a few times now. The EU is not this homogenous, beautiful, communal, communist utopia that a lot of people think it is. It's very fractious. It's a lot of different countries that speak a lot of different languages, that have different goals and wants from the world. And so it does rub up against itself quite a bit. And this whole Russian invasion of Ukraine thing is really starting to show the cracks, mainly around the sanctions. So there's quite a few countries now that are going, no, we're not doing these sanctions. It's not happening. And the US is going, you will do these sanctions. But basically places like Italy and a number of other countries as well that I've mentioned in the past are saying like, hey, if you want to give us fuel, USA, if you want to give us gas, USA, then sure, we'll do all the sanctions you want. But until then, we're not going to let our people freeze to death. We're not going to let our people starve. We're not going to drive up inflation in the form of fuel prices to the point where the average Joe can't even afford to drive. So, what are you going to do about it? We are reliant on fossil fuels. People need to understand that as a sort of a species. Right now in time, we are totally reliant on fossil fuels. And yes, I would love to move to renewable resources. That would be a cool thing to do in the future, but that is in the future. We need to take the steps now to do it. We can't do it overnight. And that's what Europe is painfully finding out right now. What else we got here? Inflation, Turkey inflation. I'm not even going to talk about the stats anymore. Turkey, this is something I've been talking about for months now. If you want to see what happens when a country hits hyperinflation and the sort of whack things that happen, it's not just like the country explodes and goes away. Venezuela's been dealing with hyperinflation for a long time. Now Turkey is definitely in hyperinflation, despite what they're trying to say. They're in it. So they're getting hit hard. Consumer price index up to 73.5% increase. And over 50% is hyperinflation. So that's where that is at. What else we got in inflation? Man, there's so much. Power shortages, inflation. Europe faces worst energy crisis in history as fuel rationing looms. So they're warning. This is the International Energy Agency has come out and warned Europe will be going into rationing of fuel soon. This is all sounding really World War II. Any historians out there would look at this and go like, how we don't think we're in a world war right now is utterly surprising. I believe that in history, when we're looking back at this time, when this day here is part of our history class, people will be saying things like World War III or the Great European War. So it'll be called something, but this will be the start of it. A bit like, I don't think people were really thinking World War II was officially started on the day that Germany invaded Poland. I think maybe we look back on that and we go, yeah, that was definitely the point. But maybe in the time they didn't think that. Rising wheat prices and shortages hit Italy's most traditional meal amid ongoing war in Ukraine. So obviously, pasta. it's Italian. It's Italian as the pasta. What is pasta made of? Wheat. What are we not getting out of the Ukraine and Russia right now? Wheat. So no surprises there. There's been a huge increase in the price of pasta within Italy, and also they're looking at shortages as well. So not good stuff when that's your staple, when that's the number one food eaten in the country by the most people. That does not fare well for I'm really beaten up on the Italians. I mean, I'm not beaten up on them, but there's a lot of stuff about Italy going on at the moment. Let's switch gears a little. Man, there's a lot of stuff. Switzerland risks power shortages next winter. So this is quite an interesting one where we're looking at the interconnected nature of our food systems and our energy systems, how obviously it's pretty exposed right now, if people haven't figured it out, that countries within themselves don't often organize their own stuff. They don't look after their own garbage. They don't power themselves. They don't feed themselves. It's an interconnected web. And when that gets broken or shut down, a lot of problems happen. So Switzerland, nestled up next to France there, gets a fair bit of energy from France. France is going very anti-nuclear right now. They're shutting down their nuclear power plants and going, nuclear's bad. We need to move to solar energy or whatever they're going to. Problem being that it now looks like a lot of these countries that are shutting down nuclear reactors, and I will put the caveat on this, they're shutting down a lot of these nuclear reactors because they're overdue to shut down. These nuclear reactors, they said, yeah, we'll power this and we'll do it until the year 2005 or wherever. That's rolled around. They've realized we can't shut this down. And so a lot of these power plants are overdue to be shut down. They're, past their use by date, I'll put it that way. But, there's obviously an increased danger there. It's not just like any other power plant, a coal power plant or something like that, where they're like, oh, we can keep pushing it. Oh, it's old rail tracks. Yeah, we can keep pushing that. Oh, we've got old infrastructure here. Yeah, in the water or something. Yeah, we can keep pushing that. This is nuclear power. You keep pushing it and something's going to go friggin' Chernobyl. So they've made the call. I think this particular one in France was 25 years overdue to be shut down. So then France finally gone, no, we've got to shut this thing down. Otherwise, we're going to have another 3 Mile Island situation on our hands. And Switzerland's like, we kind of need that power. And France like, I don't know, start rubbing your socks on carpet or something. Find electricity somewhere else. But we're going to see more and more of this sort of stuff, especially obviously compounding this problem is the lack of fossil fuel coming in from Russia into Europe right now. So that's compounding that problem. And of course, the increase in how much energy we use as individuals. and I don't have it written down here. I should have screenshotted it, but there was a shot of like an individual, just a person in the Western world, and it had Australians in there. And it was interesting. I looked at how much energy I consumed when I was, say, 8 years old in the 80s, and then how much I consume now as a 40-year-old. And it's pretty frightening. Like the amount of energy I now consume is just like way beyond what I was consuming as a kid. But that's not just me. That's everyone in Australia, everyone in the US, everyone in Europe, UK, everywhere. That's what we're doing in the Western or the developed world. We're consuming more energy and more reliant on it. Okay, I'm going to skip over that one because that's going to get me angry. A few more clashes and things that are happening around the world. So again, just shifting gears here. So I've talked about shortages and things like that, and we can start to think about what we need to do as individuals to start to prepare for this sort of stuff. But something we need to think about also is the amount of violence that is starting to seep into our societies and societies around the world. So I don't know if you're traveling around the world or not. I have plans to start traveling back around the world again very soon. So this is something in my radar, but I feel like even here in Australia, we might start to see this sort of civil unrest and violence. So I always like to point these ones out. And again, it also leads to a bigger picture of what's going on. So we're going to jump into this kind of Central Asian, Middle Eastern type area now. So one story here in Pakistan, if you haven't been keeping over what's happening in Pakistan, a lot of riots going on there. Just quick catch up for this. Last time on Pakistan, the PM, Khan, something for the Star Trek fans out there. Khan got ousted. Imran Khan got ousted. Bold, gone. How's that? It's a bit of a joke. He used to be a cricket star. Anyway, Imran Khan got ousted. He said it's a political maneuver by foreign forces to install a phony government. He's built up a bit of a groundswell. There's a lot of unhappy people. So there's this huge thing. This whole thing's a conspiracy. They've marched in on the capital of Islamabad. Now there's huge rioting going on. A lot of problems, and it doesn't look like it's going to end soon. He is promising more of this sort of behavior. And on the other side, the government is promising more extreme crackdowns in a place that isn't shy to crack down on their own population. So watch that space. Where am I? I've lost my spot. No, stay away from that story. It's going to make me angry. And also in Armenia, dozens hospitalized amid clashes in Armenia. So for those who don't know where Armenia is, it's kind of, let me think. If you're in, let's see, Iraq, Syria, Iran, we go north from that, and it kind of gets squeezed in by two large bodies of water and then goes up into Russia. And then you've got these two small countries just below that, and Georgia in there as well. You've got Azerbaijan and Armenia next to each other, and they do not like each other. They're always having a go. In fact, they were at a state of war not too long ago. I want to say 8 months ago. It was a pretty full-on, maybe a little bit longer than that. But it was war. That's what it was. And don't be surprised if you didn't hear about this. I had to go seek this information out. And I also have people who I know who have worked over in this area. I know people who live over there. So for me, it's probably a little bit not close to home, but I am familiar with the area. But yeah, they've had a lot of issues there between these two countries for a number of reasons. But now Armenia their people are basically rising up and saying we need to go smash Azerbaijan. Essentially, that's what I'm reading from it anyway, from this story. And they're kind of rioting again in their capital, Yerevan. Police said 50 people were hospitalized, including 34 officers, and 11 were detained. So we've got, quite full-on civil disorder going on in that country as well, asking for war. It's not the usual, is it? Another sandstorm. Aleppo, Syria. Sorry, if you've ever watched these before, you know I like to report on sandstorms around the world. It just gives me flashbacks to the 90s, clubbing scene in the 90s. All right, weather effects are always pretty interesting to me. Sandstorms, there's probably a number of reasons why we're getting increased sandstorms at the moment. High temperatures, high winds, more erosion happening. I mean, they're happening in sandy areas anyway, but they're quite full on. For those who haven't been in a sandstorm before, you just think, oh, what, a bit dirt in your eye? People can die. People can die in these sorts of things quite easily. Here's the inflation story that I wanted to lead off on. I forgot. The cost of getting hammered in the UK soars 70% since 2008. So in the last 13 years, getting drunk like a skunk in the UK has gone up 70%. Damn. Doesn't pay to get drunk anymore. I just, I like beer, so that caught my eye. Always something to think about, though. Something me and quite a few of my friends do actually is brew. I haven't done it in a little while, in a year or two, but brew our own beers and mead and other such things. But yeah, it's again something to think about. Like, beer is not something you need to live, but it is something that you may really like me. So it's something to think about. How do I build sustainability? How do I build resilience within the systems that I live in? How do I grow coffee? That's the one thing I can't quite figure out yet. It's very cold where I live. Let's talk about gold. Czech Republic is set to boost its gold reserves by 1,000%. That's a lot of percents. So this isn't the only country that that is doing this. This is just one of the ones that I caught, and I thought, well, that's a large number for starters, boosting it by 1,000%. But a lot of countries are starting to now look at it and go like, gold. Yep. Let's start getting that gold. I don't blame them, and I think it's kind of a wise idea. Why? Because here's a great story that I'm going to add into this. Austrian monetary gold transfer from London to Switzerland planned in 2015. So what that is, for those who don't know, many countries in the world, Australia included, said, look, we want to have some gold. Our money isn't backed by it anymore, but we just still want to have some reserves because it's cool to have. But we're not going to keep it ourselves, so we'll just send it over to London. London can take care of it. It's all fine. Anyway, some people started figuring out, like, London's not giving out any serial numbers or anything for this gold. Like, who's to say that they have all that gold? Maybe they lent it out. Maybe they borrowed against it. Maybe they sold it. Maybe they're just saying they've got it and they don't, with the theory like, oh, we could get it back if we really needed it. And maybe they can't. And so a lot of people have been kind of looking into the dark crystal ball and going like, this is a problem. If every country starts going, London, we want our gold back, and London goes, nah, I ain't got it. Sorry, Gov, I ain't got your gold. Then that's not just a couple of countries going, oh, drats, okay, damn. Well, thanks anyway. That's a huge problem. That is crushing economy, world economy size problem that's going to happen there. So anyway, a lot of countries have been saying, hey, we're going to repatriate our gold back to our country. Thanks, London. We'll look after it from here on in. Austria was one of them and said, we're not going to look after it ourselves, but can you send it over to Switzerland and they'll look after it because we trust them more now? And London said, yep, cool. So that was 2015. So that was 7 years ago. Still hasn't rocked up. The cracks are showing. Little sirens should be starting to go off in people's head. And maybe even if you were a punter and you were thinking, where can I put my money that's getting inflated at the moment? Maybe gold might be an idea, because if people start freaking out about gold, if countries are freaking out about gold and getting it at the moment, it probably doesn't mean that it's about to drop in value. I'll just put it that way. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. Do not take my advice on anything. But, I might get a little bit, if you know what I mean. All right. Oh, man, there's way too many stories in here. Okay, I want to touch on just an example of media and how it affects us and what we actually look at right now. There are shootings happening in the US, okay? It's a hot topic and it's getting thrust in our face. Here's a story here: 3 dead, 11 more injured in Philadelphia mass shooting that happened. Tragic thing that happened. And you could probably name right now probably at least one, but I'm guessing 3 or 4 other shootings that have happened in the US in the last probably fortnight or month. However, one thing I'm not seeing a lot of reporting on was a gunman who walked into a Catholic church in Nigeria, opened fired, and has killed at least 50 people. Like, that's a lot of people to die. So, we're very US focused, I think, with the news cycle, but other bad things are happening in the world in other areas. And I'm not saying that you need to pay attention to it. However, I am saying that bad things do happen in the world. Sometimes it's with an armed assailant. These are the sort of things that we need to think about and try to prepare for. The likelihood of it happening in Australia is not massive, but it is still there. There is a likelihood that it could happen to us in Australia again. The last large one was the Port Arthur attack back in the 90s. So these sort of things can happen. These sort of, assault weapons are still out on the black market in Australia. Maybe you can pick up some from the Ukraine right now. But, these are the sort of things that I don't look at and go like, oh, the world's crap, it's all shit. I look at it and I go, okay, how do I better protect myself and my loved ones? How do I pay more attention to what's happening around me in the world, so I don't walk around staring at my phone with my headphones in and just oblivious to what's happening around me when I'm out in the public space? I pay attention, I keep looking, and I'm looking for signs of trouble, but I'm not looking in a paranoid way. I'm just allowing information to come into me. But always have a plan in my head too. Always have a plan. If something did happen, what would I do? And I encourage you to do that too. Not in a paranoid way, not in a fear-mongering way, just be in a controlled way. So I have the confidence to walk around the world, and I know that I can control myself in an emergency situation. I know that I can escape somewhere. I have some plan in my head. So if something does go bang or if something goes wrong, I don't just go like a deer in the friggin' headlights and allow it to happen to me. And that's something I want to encourage today, is that don't wander around the world thinking that the world is something, just a series of events that happens to you, and you are just some helpless sheep that you can't do anything. Walk around with the mindset that you have an effect on the world around you. You at least have an effect on yourself, on how you react to situations. And so empower yourself to do that, and to think about that. But again, don't be fearful about it. Don't be freaking out. Just start to bring this into your practice, into your life. A couple of books I want you to think about. One's called, I know this is backwards, The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. Another one that I don't have here, is called Left of Bang by Patrick Van Horn. Go grab those books, have a read, get in the right mindset for the world that we're heading into. Last story, it's a bad one. It's going to get me angry. Okay, what the fuck's going on, world? Soaring cost of living causes spike in abandoned and surrendered pets. Okay, so my dog, I loved her, lived till she was 14 years old, went everywhere with me, and I knew she was getting on and I needed to get a new dog, right? Because I could not possibly fathom living with that hole in my life without having some other dog there to patch up that hole in the interim. So I start looking around for a dog. $5,000 at least for a dog. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous, if you can even get one. Okay, so I get it. people are locked down in their house. They're all of a sudden having to face the chasm that is their personal lives. They're having to look deep within, and they're seeing something that they don't like. So they're going, how can I distract myself in any way? Can I have a child? Can I watch more Netflix? Can I get a dog? A dog. I'll get a fucking dog. Yes. Oh, this is good. We don't have to think about that anymore. Anyway, so the demand for dogs went through the roof during COVID times. And I said right from the start, I'm like, this is bad. I can see people who have no fucking business owning a dog, because that is a serious responsibility, owning dogs. And I said, give it 2 years, and there will be dogs flooding into shelters, eventually probably getting destroyed. And now we're seeing the result of that. So soaring cost of living, people can't afford now to pay for, I don't know, food for their dog or whatever. This thing, all right, people who know me know that I have a lot of compassion for dogs, and sometimes not a lot of compassion for the most populous vertebrate on the face of the earth, i.e. humans. There's plenty of humans, and if they can't sort their own shit out, I don't have a lot of fucking fucks to give. I don't have a lot of fucking fucks to give. Anyway, I always feel for dogs. I love dogs. So this just irks me. It really shits me that, you know, people can't sort their own shit out. And if it was me, and to be honest, I have hit a couple of points where I haven't had enough do-re-mi in the bank account, and I've looked at my dog, and I've looked at me, and I've walked into the supermarket, and I've said, dog wins. I'd rather skip a meal any day of the week and let my dog eat than starve my dog or give up my dog. But that's just me. Yeah, you know, all this is a rant, by the way, and this is just another thing where I like to point out how much we can't trust the average sheeple, the average human being. They make poor decisions. But if we put a positive spin on this, if you are on the lookout for a dog at the moment, then I would really, really encourage you to go to shelters right now and have a look there. Try and pick one up. Try and help some of these dogs out, because it's not fair. What's happened here is the human's fault. That's all I'm going to say on it. Positive spin, though, I love my dogs. So Charlie Cause, poor pets. So many got pets in the lockdown and won't be able to afford them now. So sad. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's real bad. But, you know, part of prepping too is I don't prep just for myself, and I prep for me, and I prep for my family, and part of my family is my dogs. So they're fully prepped for. They got plenty of food. I would even argue they've probably got more food than I have. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, if the apocalypse got that bad and I'm living in a world without dogs, that's probably one of the one things that I'm just like, you know what, I don't know if it's worth living in. But yeah, prep for everyone, guys. Prep for you, prep for your family, prep for your pets. Absolutely, 100% do that. All right, that's it for today. A little bit of a longer one. I'll try and get these out a little bit more regularly. I do apologize, but I've been busy. I don't know what to say. I've been busy. I've got a whole heap of ideas for videos for the actual YouTube channel, and I don't have enough time to put them together, to shoot them, to edit them. I've got people kicking me in the bum saying, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that. And I'm like, yep, I'll get onto it. I will soon. I promise you all. But if there is anything that you want to see in video lands, anything you want me to talk about, please send me through a suggestion. If there's any questions or anything you've got about prepping, shoot it through as always. But apart from that, stay safe out there. Keep your eyes open. Keep prepping. Get out there and just buy a little bit more. It's still out there in Australia. We can still do it. It might not be forever, but we've still got time. So just take a deep breath and make a plan. Move forward with that. And apart from that, y'all, hang on. Good looking. Dogs are the best. I'd be lost without my boy. I hear. Thanks heaps, everyone. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate the comments. Really appreciate everyone who's watching. And until next time, Semper Paratus.